morning and welcome to another Fast Track webinar. This is a weekly event we do every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we go over various topics of the Fast Track software. You can see these events if you go to our website, go FTx.com, choose the FTx Lifeline tab, scroll down about halfway down this page, choose the webinar button. This will bring you to the webinars page, which will allow you to sign up for the newsletter, get notified of upcoming webinars and other Fast Tracks news, as well as sign up for the upcoming webinars and review all the older webinars that have been previously recorded. Today we're going to be going over the FTx handheld application for the retail side. This is the Android application. So first and foremost, you have to have your permissions set for this. So if we go to Director, we log into a user that has permission to edit these permissions, go to the Maintenance module, choose the Employees tab, and if you choose an employee, there's going to be a Handheld Permissions tab. This is going to be where all the handheld permissions reside. Basically, these first two columns is going to give the employee access to those modules within the handheld. So if you wanted to have them have permission to do an order, to receive, to do an adjustment, to print labels, just simply make sure that their employee record has those checkboxes checked. The third column is going to be hiding specific values, such as cost, such as a cycle count snapshot, such as what is expected when doing a receiving verification, and lottery reconciliation. So for example, if I have the price book permission checked and I have the hide cost checked, whenever I scan an item in the handheld, it's going to give me the retail price, but not the cost. If I have this unchecked, then I'll see both the retail price, the cost, and the margin being made on that product when sold. Or cycle counts, if I have it set to blind, whenever I scan an item, when I'm counting it in a cycle count, I simply enter in the quantity that I count. If I have this unchecked, then whenever I scan that same item, I'm going to see what is expected to have. So what does the store think I currently have right now? I can enter in a value, and then I can see there if there's a variance or not. So if there's a difference between what is expected versus what I've actually counted, I can see that. If it's blind, I don't see that. So let's jump into the handheld itself. So first and foremost, whenever you are setting your device up, make sure you're connected to your store's Wi-Fi. Every device is going to be a bit different. Simplest way to find that Wi-Fi setting is to go to your app drawer, scroll down, look for the settings button, look for the Wi-Fi setting, choose a Wi-Fi network, and then enter your password, and you should be connected to your network. Then you can open up the FTx handheld application, and you'll be presented with this screen. You need to set your connection string, your connection server. So to do that, you'll go to Settings, and this very top option, Connection, you want to make sure that's set to wherever your stored database resides, which is generally going to be Register 1. That connection URL will be the IP address of that Register 1 / FTx handheld. Now, if you don't know how to find the IP address of your handheld, it's a very simple process. On that register, just simply right-click the Start menu, choose Run, type in the letters CMD, and press OK. That'll bring up this MS-DOS looking window, the command prompt. Simply type in ipconfig, and then press Enter. That will bring up a list of all the IP addresses assigned to that machine. We're going to be looking for whichever adapter you have connected to the internet, which in this case on mine is the Ethernet adapter here. We want to look for that IPv4 address. So we can see that that matches. It's 10.62. Well, in my handheld, I've got it set for 192.168.10.62 / FTx handheld. For the port, most of the time that's going to be 80. That's the default port that Fast Track sets up. If you have a different port, that would be set up differently by your IT staff. So you may have to get in contact with them to see what that port number would be. So once you've got your connection string set in place, the next step would be to actually log in. So to log in, you choose that red button in the bottom right corner. You input your employee username ID and your employee password. So in this case, my employee number is 2 and my password is 2. I'll log in, and then it will basically have a button for every module that this employee that's logged in has access to. So for example, if we go back to Director here and we look at the cashier I have, we go to Handheld Permissions, we can see I'm missing the Pricebook module. Well, here on the employee that I'm logged in right now, 2, I have the Pricebook. So if I log out, I log in under that employee that does not have permission. Notice I'm missing modules. I don't have all the access to all those modules. So I'm going to go ahead and log back out and log in the employee that has everything for right now. All right, so let's go through these modules. The very first module is going to be the time clock. And this is a very, very simple module. If you're clocked out, it will show you that you're clocked out. To clock in, just simply tap that little circle under the employee name. So I'll tap that, that clocks me in. To clock out, I just simply tap that again. It will clock me out, and then I can see there's that record where I was clocked in for a couple seconds. You can also use the red button. That will clock you in. And then when you want to clock out, choose the teal button, and it'll clock you out. That's really all there is to the time clock module, just a quick way to clock in and clock out. The next module is the Pricebook. You can utilize either a Bluetooth scanner, you can use the camera of the device, or you can use the little hourglass up at the top, the magnifying glass, and enter in your UPC number. What that will do is that will basically give you your item details, the UPC, your quantity on hand, the description, the cost, and the retail. If I did not have permission to view the cost, then I wouldn't see that. The next module will be the print labels. This module works hand in hand with the FastTrack's print labels application. Let's say that I want to print a label out for a carton. I can either scan it, I can use the camera, or I can manually enter that in. You will choose how many you want to print. So let's say I want to print 5 of those labels. Then you would choose the application called the FTx label print, and you'll see a list of all of the labels that you have queued up from the handheld. You would then just simply choose the ones you want to print, and then choose the template you want to print from, and print. And that will then print out those labels. Just a quick way to queue those up rather than keying those in one by one in Director or on the POS. All right, the next area is going to be spot checks. Now this is going to be different than cycle counts. Spot checks and cycle counts do the same thing, but in different ways. That is going to be how you count your store's inventory. Now with a spot check, let's say I count a product. Whenever I enter in that quantity and save it, that's now what I have on hand. I can't review that. I can't count it in a separate area of the store. So I have to know what the entire count is at that moment whenever I enter the enter button. With a cycle count, you can scan your products in one or more areas, and you can review that in Director before you actually save it. So this will give you a chance to correct any mistakes. It also has the benefit of keeping track of sales and inventory movement while you're counting. That's a big, big difference. So with a spot check, an example of that was, let's say that I have, just to make it simple, I have one item in one location. I count 3 of those items. When I press save, I now have 3 of that on hand. A customer could be in the line about to pay for one of those items. The store technically had 4 on hand, but due to the customer having one in their hand and me entering in 3 on that count, I'm going to have a variance of 1. when I truly actually don't have a variance. With a cycle count, when I review that, I would see that there is a sale that's occurring, and it would properly deduct that, so I wouldn't have a variance at that point. So on the spot check side, to do a spot check, just simply choose the plus button. You can only do a no definition count for spot checks. You can either use your Bluetooth scanner, use the camera of the device, or manually enter your item. And let's say I have 6 of this on hand. That means now I have 6 on hand. So if I go to this item in Director, and I look that item up, I now have 6 on hand. If a customer had one in their hand, if there was another one of these in a different location, that's just the way it is. I have 6 on hand. So that's where, in my mind, it's always better to use cycle counts rather than spot checks. So let's take a look at cycle counts. That's the very next module. So when doing a cycle count, you are expected to do it either as a no definition, just as we did in the spot checks, or do it against the definition. So I'm in the cycle counts module. I simply chose that cycle counts module here. And I can see an in progress count. So if I want to continue that cigarettes definition, I just simply choose that. That will continue that count. If I want to start a new count, I choose the plus button. I can choose another definition, or I can choose the no definition. So if I do the no definition, and I enter my count, say I have 10 of these. If I go to that in Director, I can see there's a cycle count that's in progress. I'll choose the Inventory module, the Inventory tab. There's that no definition cycle count. I will view that worksheet. We can see there's that pack I just scanned. There's what I counted. There's what the system thought I had. There's my variance of +4. Now, inventory movement has not taken place. Inventory movement will only take place whenever I choose that Save Reconcile button. So if this item was sold between me scanning and me saving, as long as I press this Refresh Quantity Sold, it's going to refresh that, and it would deduct 1 from that total, that expected count. Let's go ahead and save that. The next part will be doing this against the definition. So if we go back to the handheld here, we can see we can start against the definition. Well, to build a definition, you just simply choose the Definitions tab, there's your definitions that are available. If you need to build a new one, just choose the new definition, and there's a variety of options to choose from. For more details on this, just watch the Cycle Counts webinar, and that'll go in full detail on cycle counts. So we're going to go ahead and choose on the handheld. Let me just start another one with the Marlboro count. And there's going to be a couple options here. The Always Scan One, if we choose that, it's going to let us know that basically right now with this turned off, whenever we scan an item or enter an item, we enter in a quantity. If we turn this on, then we actually don't have the ability to enter a quantity. Every time we scan an item, it's going to add 1. It's always going to append 1 to that count. So that means I need to scan each and every UPC, which of course is going to be more accurate. The next area is going to be Reprompt Scan. If we choose that, that's going to let us, if we scan the same item with the Always Scan One disabled, it's going to prompt us, what do we want to do with this second scan of the item? Do we want to add to the current count, what we've currently counted? Do we want to replace the count? You have those two options. We have the backroom snapshot enabled. This will take a snapshot of the backroom count. Once again, for more details on the cycle count, how that works, just watch the cycle count webinar. The backroom count is going to be what you have in the backroom. The floor count is going to be what you have on the floor. show count history. That will show all items that you have scanned. You can then see only your scan history and recent history. This is mainly used for if you have multiple users, multiple employees counting on the same cycle count definition. Then there's the uncounted items. This will basically show you all items that have not been counted in this definition. All right, so let's go to the next module, reorder. This is a simple module that allows us to order. You basically just choose the vendor you want to order from. Choose plus. Then we can either scan our items or choose a search button and manually enter items. Now with this actually doesn't add the order to director yet. It's going to be in a temporary table that only the handheld can see. And you can't actually do any kind of orders based on the reorder methods as you do in director. It's going to be a scan, enter a quantity, scan, enter a quantity. And you have the option to always scan it equal 1, just like in cycle count. So you don't have the option to manually enter that quantity. You just scan each and every product that you want. There's a save button. Whenever you choose that save button, at that point, that's when it's going to go to director under your previous orders tab. And it's going to then, at that point, not be editable from the handheld. After you save it on the handheld, it leaves that temporary table from where the handheld actually reads. And it no longer is editable on the handheld. You have to do all editing and changes in director. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next module. That will be the receiving module. So this is going to be how you enter in your invoices. And it's very similar to the orders, the reorder side. It's a temporary area. So you can't actually scan items. You can't scan it on invoices that are currently in director. It's a handheld only area until you save it. So this first screen will show you any kind of temporary invoices that you can continue on, basically invoices that the handheld has already started that's not showing in director. I'm going to choose the plus button because there's not any. This will show any kind of orders, this next screen, that you can receive against. So you select a purchase order that has an order quantity on there, and you can receive against that purchase order. Otherwise, you can just choose the plus button, choose your vendor, and then enter a invoice number to have a blank invoice. At this screen, you can do exactly like in the other modules. You can scan with the Bluetooth scanner, you can scan using the camera, or you can manually enter in your item. If you need to edit something on after you've entered in the quantity, you can either relook that item back up or just simply swipe and then edit. And that will allow you to edit that. All right, so for the options, if you choose the little cogwheel down here, you have the same option for always scan equal 1. I can turn that off. Then it's going to prompt me for my quantities. You can do the rescan prompt. So do you want that option we just saw a second ago, do you want to append or replace? You can see all unscanned items. Basically, if you're building this invoice against a purchase order, this will show you the items that have not been scanned yet. And then save invoice. Now with save invoice, there's two options. Whenever you choose this, there's a countdown timer, and you have two options. You have one option on the left where it just saves the invoice and does not apply it. When you save it, that allows you to make changes in director. Then you have the option to save and apply. Save and apply will actually apply that invoice immediately, which doesn't let you do changes in director. So if I do the save button here, and I go to director, and I go to my receiving, and I refresh this, there's that invoice we just did. We can see there's our quantity. I can simply choose the apply invoice and then we'll apply that invoice. All right, so the next module is going to be the receiving verification. If we choose this, this will allow you to either continue an unfinished invoice verification, or if you choose the plus button, choose your vendor, you can verify an applied invoice. For options, you have the rescan prompt. So do you want to append or replace? You can show your account history. You can see items that have not been verified, and you can save, basically send this invoice to corporate once it's complete. To see actually how the entire receiving verification module works, both in Handheld and Director, that process from beginning to end, I would suggest you watch the receiving verification webinar. All right, so the next module is going to be the lottery reconciliation module. This module will allow you to continue any kind of basically any open lottery reconciliations that have been started in either in the POS or the reconciliation program. This will allow you to scan those lottery tickets in the handheld and enter your ending ticket number. You can also make changes to the starting ticket number if you have permission to do so. Once done, you have the option to save that. And of course, when that's saved, that will then get sent to corporate when it's marked as finalized. For details on lottery reconciliation and how that process works, as well as the regular reconciliation, there are webinars you can watch on that. Just go to that webinar page, do a search for reconciliation, and you'll see webinars that are involving lottery and standard reconciliation. The next module is going to be the messages module. This is a very, very simple module. It allows you to send a message to corporate. There's your subject. There's where you can enter your message. You can do an attachment choosing a little paperclip that will allow you to take a picture with the camera or choose a document on the device to attach to that message, and the little arrow will send that directly to corporate. The next area is going to be adjustments. This is similar to the orders and receiving modules, whereas there is a temporary adjustments that only the handheld sees. Whenever you are finished entering your adjustments, then you can apply that, and that's where then it will apply to your inventory. There's no temporary adjustments here found, so if I choose the plus button, I can enter in a note. And then here I can use my Bluetooth scanner, the camera on the device, or just simply search for the EPC. Enter in your quantity that you want to adjust. Say I want to do -3. And then at this point, there's your item. I can choose that cogwheel. There's the same options I have in other modules, the always scan equal 1 and the reprompt scan. And I can just simply apply that to my inventory. And that will then apply that directly to that adjustment directly to that item with that note. The next module is going to be the remote sales module. This functions exactly how it does in Director. You have your remote sales. So if I want to build a new remote cell, I just simply choose that plus button, give a description. Here, you can use your Bluetooth scanner, your camera, or the search to add an item to the cell. And then at this point, on the POS, it's going to function just like it does in Director. Whenever you create a remote cell, it's going to show up as a suspended cell. Just go to the POS, choose the resume cell, and there's going to be an option of all your example cells that you can choose to resume. All right, so the next module is the settings, which we've already touched on at the very beginning to point your device to the correct location. All right, so to log out of the handheld, just simply choose that plus button. Then there's the option to clock in or clock out and the log out. When you choose log out, it's ready for the next person to log in and utilize. All right, so I hope everybody's learned something new today. Once again, if you go to our website, goftx.com, choose the FTX Lifeline tab, and go to the Webinars option. This will let you see all of the upcoming webinars, sign up for the newsletter, and view previous webinars. These events happen every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you have any questions on this topic that you've seen today or previous topics, let us know at websupport@fasttrackspos.com. And if you have any suggestions for future webinars, let us know at info@goftx.com. Thank you, and I hope you have a great week.